Earth was secretly building a Galaxy-class battleship. The signal from the deep. Commander Rhea Okonkwo had spent 14 years believing she worked for a mining corporation. She had signed the contracts, passed the psychological evaluations, and accepted the absurdly high salary without asking too many questions, because in the year 2071, working for Solarith Deep Industries meant working on the most secretive asteroid extraction project in human history. Officially, Project Anvil was mining rare metals from the outer belt to fund humanity's clean energy transition. Unofficially, Rhea had begun to suspect it was something else entirely. It started with the numbers. 14 years of mining output had never once been sold on any open market. Entire fleets of unmarked cargo haulers left the asteroid belt every month, but nothing ever seemed to reach Earth's economy. Steel production facilities on the dark side of the moon ran 24 hours a day, staffed by workers under lifetime non-disclosure contracts. And deep beneath Reykjavik, a facility so classified that even generals needed 3 separate clearances just to know its name pulled more electricity than all of Iceland combined. Rhea had told herself, for years, that it wasn't her business. Then she got assigned to command Deck 7. The elevator ride down took 11 minutes. Rhea had never been below Deck 4 in her entire career. When the doors finally opened, she stepped out into a chamber so vast her mind refused, for several seconds, to process what she was looking at. It was not a mining facility. It was a shipyard. And suspended in its center, wrapped in scaffolding and pulsing with soft blue construction lights, was a vessel larger than any structure humanity had ever built, a battleship so massive it seemed less like a machine and more like a moon under construction. "Commander Okonkwo," said a voice behind her. She turned to find Admiral Marcus Chen, a man she had only ever seen in press briefings about asteroid safety regulations. "Welcome to the Ascendant Vigil program. I apologize for the 14 years of mining paperwork. It was necessary." Rhea stared up at the half-finished hull stretching nearly 3 kilometers in length. "What," she said slowly, "is that?" "That," Chen replied, "is Earth's insurance policy." 2. The reason for secrecy. They walked the outer gantry together as Chen explained what 14 years of asteroid mining had actually built. In 2057, he said, a deep space listening array in Chile picked up a signal. Not noise. Not a pulsar. A structured, repeating transmission originating from outside our solar system, using mathematics no human system had ever attempted to encode information with. We spent 2 years confirming it wasn't an error. "That's not possible," Rhea said. "That would have been the biggest news story in human history." "It should have been," Chen agreed. "And it would have caused global panic, economic collapse, and very likely war between nations desperate to control whatever technology followed. So a decision was made, not lightly, and not by any single government, to prepare quietly before announcing anything to the public." "Prepare for what?" Chen stopped walking and looked up at the towering hull above them. "For contact," he said. "Whether it comes in peace or otherwise, humanity needed something it has never had before, the ability to stand equally at the table, instead of arriving as a defenseless species begging for mercy." Rhea felt her pulse quicken as she took in the scale of the ship again, the weapon housings the size of apartment buildings, the shield generator rings large enough to swallow a city block, the drive core at the vessel's heart glowing faintly even through a foot of shielding. "How is this even funded?" she asked. "A project this size would bankrupt entire nations." "It very nearly did," Chen admitted. "Which is why it wasn't funded by nations. 31 governments, under a treaty even most of their own defense ministers never saw in full, agreed to redirect a fraction of global military and infrastructure spending into a single shared program. Officially, the money went to climate initiatives, asteroid mining, and lunar research. Unofficially, all of it converged here." They reached an observation window overlooking the ship's forward section, a curved prow shaped less like a warship and more like a cathedral, engraved with the flags of every nation that had contributed to its construction. "We call her the Ascendant Vigil," Chen said quietly. "She is not built for conquest, Commander. She is built so that humanity never again has to face the stars unarmed and unprepared." 3. The crew of a secret. Over the following weeks, Rhea learned the true scope of what she had unknowingly served for over a decade. The Ascendant Vigil was crewed not by soldiers alone, but by scientists, engineers, linguists, and diplomats, nearly 12,000 people in total, each recruited under cover stories as elaborate as her own. A geneticist believed she'd spent 6 years studying extremophile biology for pharmaceutical research. A translator had been told he was building AI language models for commercial use. None of them, until now, had known the true purpose of their work. The idea, explained Dr. Amara Singh, the ship's chief systems architect, as she walked Rhea through the vessel's central spine, was never deception for its own sake. It was containment. A secret this size doesn't survive a workforce of thousands unless each person only ever sees their single piece of the puzzle. And the weapon systems? Rhea asked, eyeing the massive conduits running along the ship's ribs like the veins of some sleeping giant. Defensive priority, Amara said firmly. The Vigil carries kinetic disruptors, a layered shield lattice, and a long-range communications array capable of transmitting peaceful contact protocols in over 400 mathematical and symbolic languages. Weapons exist because unpreparedness is not peace, Commander. It is simply an invitation to disaster. But this ship's true purpose is diplomacy backed by strength, not conquest disguised as defense. Rhea considered this as they passed a massive chamber where hundreds of technicians worked beneath the glow of a nearly finished shield array. When does the world find out? She asked. Amara's expression grew serious. That, she said, is no longer a question of engineering. It's a question of readiness, and of trust. 4. The day the sky changed. 6 months later, Rhea stood on the observation deck as the final hull plate of the Ascendant Vigil locked into place, completing 14 years of secrecy in a single, quiet click that echoed through the shipyard like a held breath finally released. That night, for the first time in human history, 31 heads of state addressed their nations simultaneously, revealing to the world what had been built beneath their feet, above their skies, and within their most trusted institutions. The reaction, as expected, was chaos, disbelief, anger, awe, and fear in equal measure. Governments that had not been included in the treaty demanded answers. Citizens debated whether such secrecy could ever be justified, no matter the reasoning behind it. Rhea watched the broadcasts from the observation deck, Admiral Chen standing quietly beside her. "Do you think they'll forgive us?" she asked. "For not telling them sooner?" Chen considered the question carefully before answering. "Forgiveness isn't the point, Commander," he said. "Preparedness was. In 14 years, no war was fought over the ship. No panic collapsed our economies. No nation weaponized the secret against another. We are not perfect, but we bought humanity time to build something meant to protect it, rather than something built in fear and haste after disaster had already arrived." Beyond the observation window, the Ascendant Vigil drifted free of its scaffolding for the first time, engines flaring to life with a soft, steady glow, no longer a secret buried in shadow, but a shield finally raised in the open light of the stars. "And the signal?" Rhea asked quietly. "The one that started all of this?" Chen's eyes lingered on the ship, then on the vast darkness beyond it. "Still silent," he admitted. "For now. But should it ever speak again, humanity will not answer as strangers arriving unarmed and afraid." The Ascendant Vigil turned slowly toward open space, her hull catching the first light of a sun that, for 14 quiet years, had shone down on a secret larger than the world had ever imagined. Humanity's watch had finally begun. The end.